All right, here we go. So when I was actually preparing for this presentation yesterday, I took a look at the title, and I felt that this talk should be more called customization and speed up development using base Lightning components. Because it's not just about speeding up development, it's also about utilizing the power of customization when building Lightning pages. So hopefully we can talk to you guys about both of these things. I want to introduce myself really quick. My name is Manoj Mahesh. I'm a senior manager here on the Lightning platform. I have been with Salesforce for about 1.5 years, and I'm really happy to do this talk to you because this is what I do at Salesforce day in and day out, is build more Lightning components. And I have with me Greg Ruiz.
That's right. My name's Greg Ruiz. I'm the product manager for Lightning Components. So Manoj is one of my engineering managers who makes sure that all of my dreams and visions come true. Do you believe that?
I try.
No, he's the one saying, nope, we can't get to that. Nope, we can't get to that. Nope, we can't get to that. But we will show you a few things that he finally did get around to building for me.
Sometimes I also get to say that they were supposed to be done but didn't make it.
Exactly.
All right, enough of that. OK. Before I get started with anything, you guys should have seen the slide 1,000,000 times already, but I would like to go through it again. So please make your purchasing decisions based on the products and services available today. First and foremost, I would like to extend a big thank you to all of you guys here. Thank you for coming to Trailhead DX. Thank you for coming to the session, to hearing us out. And most importantly, thank you so much for being a Salesforce customer. We really value your business, and we owe all our successes to our customers. And so thank you very much. I want to start off with talking about the road to Lightning. The road to Lightning can be considered similar to the evolution of business applications, which you guys use day in and day out. In early times, applications were mainly used to enter data into the database. They didn't look really pretty, right? And the user had little or no ability to customize these applications to suit their unique business need. But then, with the advent of rich internet applications, we actually do have this ability to add customizations to our applications. Now, we can change the look and feel, we can change the functionality to actually make these applications suit our unique business requirements so that we can be more productive in our day-to-day work. Nothing really illustrates this more than our move from Classic to Lightning. But let me talk about customization a little more, right? What do you really use Salesforce? Or let me put it another way. Why do you really buy Salesforce? I'm guessing it's not just to work with standard entities like opportunities and contacts. I really don't think so, and I really don't hope so either. The real power of Salesforce is customization. You can customize the heck out of it. We have custom objects, you can do custom fields, and using all of these, you can really create your own unique data model to suit each and every business need. And truly, the power of Salesforce is customization. So we were thinking, like, OK, so we have all of these customizable objects and entities and whatnot. But why can't our UI be equally be customizable as well? And that's exactly what I want to talk to you about today, is customizing development with Lightning Experience. But let's start off from the beginning, right? So we have a Salesforce Classic page here. This is a standard opportunities object. And if you see here, there is a chatter feed on the left, which is pretty useful. But if you see on the right-hand side, there's a lot of white space. What I would really like here is to see the record details for this record so that I can really get into the context of this opportunity. So something like this. But in order to achieve this, you'll have to write Visualforce and actually override the layout. And I'm sure there are a lot of Visualforce developers out here, and I think you would agree with me that doing something like this in Classic is not trivial. Well, that's exactly what we started out to do with Lightning. With Lightning, you have a standard out-of-the-box layout here. But with little or no code, you can actually go to a fully customized layout, which is really, really specific to your unique business need. And this customization is really the heart of the Lightning experience. And I'll get into this more, and Greg, my partner, will do some really interesting demos to show you the power of customization with the base components. A little bit about the Lightning experience. Lightning experience is not just a UI layer. It is an entire ecosystem by itself. To create these incredible customizations, we had to create a new developer framework to build all of this stuff on, and that is the Lightning framework. Now, admins can create incredible customizations without really having to write any code at all. They do this by using the power of App Builder and Lightning components, because if you take any Lightning page, it is really just a collection of Lightning components. And we'll get into that in more detail as well. All right. So I've given you a little bit of introduction about components and how it can add flexibility and how it can help you customize. But you might be thinking, OK, where do I get all of these components? This is where we talk about that. The first way is we have standard components built by Salesforce. So for most common usages and fundamental things, you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we use this for our internal developers as well. But the great thing is it's also available to external developers. You can use these, or you can write your own custom components if your unique business need requires it. The beauty of these custom components is that you can actually use our internal standard components as building blocks and build over them. So you don't have to build a custom component absolutely from scratch. So that's the second avenue. Lastly, we have AppExchange. You all know that there are incredible partners on AppExchange for Salesforce. Some of you guys are our partners on AppExchange. There's a huge AppExchange component library available. And the last I checked, we are getting almost close to 1,000 components. And using all of these, you can really kind of get the look and feel and the functionality you want. To top it all off, the beauty of this thing is, let's say you take a single Lightning page, you can combine all of these types of components onto one single Lightning page. Put in standard components, put in a couple of custom components you guys built in, get in a few AppExchange components. They are available either as a standalone or as a part of a package. And you can really customize the Lightning page to exactly suit your need. So those are all where you can get your components. So we've talked a lot about components. So in this slide, I want to get into really talk about, OK, what is a component? Why am I mentioning that a Lightning page is a building block of these components? And how does this really work? To illustrate this, I'm going to take an example of the Kanban board, which is an experience component built by Salesforce. And it's a really popular Lightning-only feature. So let's talk about that, and let's go from a top-down approach as to how we can break a big interactive feature into the smallest base components. So here's the Kanban board. If we ask you a question, OK, what is this page? So obviously, you all say, OK, this is a Kanban board. But I'm going to try to answer this question a little differently. What I see here is a set of base components which are composited to create larger components, which are in turn composited to create this experience component called as the Kanban board. Let's start at the top with the path component. Here we have the path component, which is an experience level component. Let's break this down. What is really a path component now? It's just a composition of Lightning button and Lightning text. So you see how here, from a big component, we can just break it down into smaller components. So this is basically all about component development. Every single item on this Kanban board is a component by itself. Each of the items are components which are in turn composed of many base components. So you see here, from the smallest component, how you can actually keep building up into the larger experiences. Using these base components, we have now found out that you can build all of these Lightning pages and custom components and customizations. These components were built for internal developers, building our products, which we sell at Salesforce. But these same components are also available to external developers so that you can use them. When we started out with this initiative, we thought about which components do developers need. So we did an audit of some of the popular frameworks out there, React, Polymer. We even looked at our own internal Visualforce framework, because we knew that a majority of our developers are already very familiar with Visualforce. So we didn't want to change anything too drastic for them. And we wanted to maintain the same paradigm of development, which is really popular on Visualforce. We also looked at the blueprints of Lightning design system to actually come up with a prioritized list of components which we started working on. And not only that, we also took input from Salesforce developers and Salesforce Stack Exchange, where we have all our developer community and all our customers interacting with us. So we really could take their suggestions on, OK, I really need this component. So we are like, OK, this component is being asked by X number of customers, so I think this is really required. So let's go ahead and put this on the roadmap. So that's the way we went about this. As you see in this slide, release after release, we have built more and more base components. And as of Spring 18, we have a comprehensive set of 86 base components available to you. You can use these to create your own custom components and also your Lightning pages, if need be. I want to broadly classify our components. And you can even subclassify them. We do that. But broadly classifying them, we have layout components, examples, Lightning layout item, which you can try to put on your page for layouts. We have visualization components, such as icons, buttons, data table, and other stuff. And also components which can help you build forms and form elements as well. So from the simplest component to a pretty complex component, but still a base component, because we are intending to provide base functionality here. One of the other goals for this initiative was we wanted to make usage of these base components as simple as possible. You guys are all familiar, or most of you guys are all familiar with Visualforce, how you use the declarative power of Visualforce to drop in components and make them really work. And this is what exactly we did with Lightning components as well. But we did it in a better way so that you write lesser code to achieve more and more functionality. So all you need to do, really, to drop in a component on your page is to put in this declarative tag, put some attributes on them, put some variants, whatever is available. And when the component is actually rendered on the page, it's converted to the Salesforce language design markup automatically. What this really gives us is that this ensures that your Lightning component will look and feel like the rest of your Lightning experience. And if the Salesforce design system updates some CSS or any kind of theming, your Lightning components will automatically inherit that design change. But that's not only all. You get accessibility built in as a part of these Lightning components as well. So you guys don't have to get into trouble with compliance and other things. All right. I want to drive one important point here. I've talked a lot about base components, building blocks, smaller components. But I want to drive the message that base components are not just dumb pieces of the UI, which you just basically sprinkle on the page. Base components are also metadata aware. They can actually read into the metadata of a record. For example, here, I have the component which we built out last release, Lightning Output Field. We have a bunch of Lightning Output Field components, all encapsulated in a Lightning record view form. All you need to do, really, is provide the record ID and the object API name on the wrapper, which is the record view form, and put in the field names how you would like to be displayed on your layout. So what really happens here is this reads the metadata of the record, and it automatically resolves the type of component to render on the page depending on that particular metadata. If you notice here, everything is Lightning output field. There's no different component. But let's say if the metadata says phone field, it will actually render a phone field. If the metadata says text, it will actually render a text. If the metadata says URL, it will render a URL component, and so on. So working with metadata has really made a difference to base components, and you don't really need any Apex controllers or any additional Lightning Data Service code to do this. All the magic is actually done by the component record view form. It gets and does everything for you. So this was just to illustrate the power of a base component. It's not necessarily just something simple. Finally, you may be asking, OK, all this is good, but where do I really see all the list of components available to me? Well, that's simple. So we have a brand new component library, which is available in the resources section of salesforce.developer.salesforce.com. And you can go in and see all of the components available to you here. The components are complete with controller code, documentation, specification, which I mean by all of the attributes you can set on that component. And that's not only it. You can see even examples of these base components in action. You can see the markup. You can see the JavaScript to make these base components work. And there's a little interesting detail to this. Let's say you authenticate with your org into the site. You will also get all the components which you have built out as a part of this list. And this is not really limited to Lightning at all. You can even get our older base components, which pretty much cover everything we have done from the last few years. So I think by this time, you have everything to really build and know how to build a base component. I think I'm finally done. So we talked a lot about base components, but I want to get into the fun part of the demo with my partner, Greg Ruiz. He's going to walk us through some real Lightning component code and to really show you the power of developing with Lightning components. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. How you guys doing? Good. All right. Are you developers? Who here is a developer? That means you want to do some code now, right? I'm not going to do that. It's too dangerous up here. I'm going to copy and paste. How about that? Is that OK? Because after all, how do developers really code? Anybody know the first line of code you ever write? No. You wrote google.com. Then you started searching, right? Then it was copy and paste. All right. I'm going to help you out, though. We don't have to copy and paste, or we don't have to look a lot, I should say, when we begin building components, because as Manoj said, we have this new thing over here called the component library. So I'm going to start right there with the component library. Now, I say this is a new thing. Who believes me? Nobody's raising your hand. That's good, because I'm lying. This isn't new. We actually introduced the component library in the winter release. And we hid it so well that nobody could find it. So for the spring release, we decided, you know what, we ought to expose this so people can actually find it and use it. And that's why we put it on developer.salesforce.com. And as Manoj was talking about, over here on the left-hand side, I have a long list of all of the components that are available to me. And as we can see, these are Lightning components. But as he mentioned, there are even the old Force components as well. We've got the UI components. So all of your information is right here. Now, the one key thing is that I want you to notice this button right there that says log into your org. As Manoj said, once you do that, not only do you have all the UI components, the Force components, the Lightning-based components, you will also start seeing my component, because all your components installed in your org or available to you in your org will appear there. Do you know what this means? This is incredibly bad news, my friends. Who raised their hand as being a developer? Now nobody wants to raise their hand, right? I know a thing or two about developers. Number one, we don't read documentation. And number two, we don't write it either. But now you've got to do it, because if you write or if you don't write the documentation for your custom components, nothing is going to show up here. It's just going to say there's no documentation available because Greg didn't write it. All right? Okay, so just driving that point home. All right. So again, as we go through this, we're going to be able to see, for example, I'm going to start off with just a very simple component, the basic lightning card component. As Manoj mentioned, we can see a little bit of preview. If we had a variant, we can go down and see variants. The cool thing is, not only are we seeing the custom markup for the component markup, I should say, but even if we want to do something like CSS, add some CSS in there, we're going to show that. Or if we were to go over to something, let's go for something like a button menu. If we need controller code, this is one of the things that I have been hearing since I became the product manager for Lightning Components. This is great, you show me the tag. How do I make it work? Well, now here in the component library, we actually show you the JavaScript to make it work too, okay? So everything that you need to get started is right there in the component library, and it couldn't be simpler because we even put a little copy button right over there on the right-hand side. Woo! All right. So that's how we get started. But now I want to take you on a little bit of a journey. I want to start with where we came from, show you where we are now, and if you're good and you laugh at the rest of my jokes, I'll show you where we're going. Start laughing right now. No. Okay. Let's start with a simple component. I'm going to use this component over here on the right-hand side. Now, first of all, this page that you're looking at, this looks like the path component. The path component is a standard component, right? In App Builder, we can go in and we can drag the path component onto our page. I don't have to do anything as a developer. I'm not even involved. However, we began to hear from all of you, hey, wait a second. You've got these really cool components that are standard components that my admin is building pages from, dragging and dropping. We would really like to put that into our own custom component. So we began to build that for you. Base components now don't just include the mini little teeny building blocks like Manoj showed you. That path is actually made up of several other components. We've already composited it together for you. Now, lightning : path, and you're done. Okay? So these components, you can begin to composite in a myriad of ways. So I've got this component over here on the right-hand side, and I was doing a session for our MVPs yesterday, and I said I built this component so that my real estate, I'm using the fictitious dream house real estate application, and I want my realtors to be able to know whose property this is listed by, who the broker is. And so I wanted to build this component, and one of my MVPs said, well, why would you do that? All you need to do is go down there and mouse over that, the link down there, and you can see that information. So why would you build your own component? And I said, because it's a long way down there. And I don't want to move all the way down there. I want to be able to see this at a glance. And then I want to do something else, but I'll save that as a surprise for you. So we've got this component. The first thing that I noticed is it's a bit broken because it says broker for, and it's like really weird, broker for Michael Jones. That's not actually what this is supposed to say. Actually, what I want to do is to tie this component together with the actual record that we are on. So it would say something like, 145 Commonwealth Avenue or something. So let's go do that. So I'm going to switch over here into my code editor. Yes, my friends, I did not just fire up the developer console. If you're still using the developer console, you're doing it old school. Because I'm now using Salesforce DX. I'm in Visual Studio Code. Now, here is that component. And as we can see, I have started off with that Lightning card. Now, Lightning card is probably one of the most used base components out there today because it is the thing that gives you the white background, the rounded corners, if you would like it, an icon and a title for the rest of your component to be displayed on. Okay? But you'll notice that my title is actually an expression here. I can see that that is an expression. It's saying broker for, we saw that on the component already, but then it's actually looking for a value. That value I have not provided to it as of yet. Now, let's talk about how do components get their data. Of course, the answer is the same way a Visualforce page gets its data, right? We write an Apex class, we call a method in that class, it gives us that data back. That's how I would have had to do that. In fact, that is how we got the broker's actual data. But I want to know what page I'm on, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leverage something here called Force Record Data, or the Lightning Data Service. Now, the Lightning Data Service, I'm going to go ahead and save this and be pushing this up while I talk here. The Lightning Data Service is going to take a parameter called Record ID. Now, when it takes a Record ID parameter, what it does is it then says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get all the fields for this record based upon what you, the developer, tell it. So, for example, I've said, I want the full layout. That means give me all those fields in the standard layout. Another option would be compact. That gives me just the compact fields. Or if I would like, I can actually list out the individual fields I'm interested in. Now, once it's received that data, then it places it into the component in the place that we define with that target fields. So you can see that I have defined my attribute of property up here. So that's where all those fields are going to be stored. Now, that's all great, fine and dandy. I've actually pushed this up. Let's go ahead and refresh our page. So now my component is no longer going to say broker for and nothing. It is now going to say broker for 145 Commonwealth Avenue. Now here's the key, my friends. What you have now done is you have made your component record aware. So that means if we go over here and we change the component's name to Avenue, right, and I save this, then immediately my component has seen that change because it is watching whatever you defined as those fields. Okay? If you want it to watch everything, it can do it. If you only want it to watch a single field, you can do that too. Okay? So that's really cool. Now, I told you that I got this data from the broker by actually doing an Apex call. Let me just prove that to you. We'll go back over here, and in my controller, you'll notice that I have a handler here in my component, and I'm doing a function called doInit. So in my controller, obviously, there is going to be a doInit. There it is. And it is, of course, going out and calling a server-side action, and it is going to bring back that data for that broker. But my friends, I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to break it all. I'm going to save this and show you that now once I push this up, we are no longer in queuing our action, which means that now if I do a reload, we will no longer have any broker data there because the Apex class was never called. Okay? So far, so good. You guys following? All right. Now, let's talk about where the data comes from and how we lay it out, because this component that I was showing you is actually built the old school way. There is a whole bunch of HTML there. Now, when I came to Salesforce, I joined Salesforce just after Dreamforce 2 years ago. Does anybody remember what happened at Dreamforce 2 years ago? We launched Lightning. That was when we launched Lightning. So we launched Lightning 2 years ago, and I came just right after that, and I started building my first component. And it was a lot of HTML, CSS, and JavaScripting, because at the time, there wasn't a lot of help for me. Now, thankfully, along came SLDS, or the Salesforce Lightning Design System. So then I didn't have to write as much HTML myself. Then I just copy and pasted it, and then had to modify it to meet my needs, right? This is one of those places where we, developers, we began to talk about, hey, wait, this is crazy. This is hard. This is way harder than doing Visualforce. So how do we make it simpler? And that's when we came up with that idea of base components. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take this div, all of this markup here, and I'm just going to copy or comment it out. So I now no longer have anything in my component. I'm going to uncomment this component. This is another component that I have created. Now, how do I know it's another component? Because I see the C colon there telling me that this is another component that I'm embedding. Let me give you a tip, pro tip. When you are building components, think in terms of components. Think as small as possible. Build small pieces, composite them together. Now, this was a weird thing for me because I came from a front-end background, building HTML pages where it was all the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, everything's right there, right? That's how I thought about building. But with components, you want to reverse that thought process. Start writing less code by combining more things together, right? So this is what I've done, is I've actually built this component. Now I'm going to show you this component first in action, and then we will go see it, what it actually looks like in code. All right, so here we go. We're going to refresh. If the demo gods have gone well, we will now see that our broker card, when it appears here, no longer looks the same. I changed the layout to really prove to you this is something completely different. Now, my friends, that has data in it, does it not? I mean, yes, I can see it. It has data in it. Where did that data come from? How did it get there? How did we lay it out? That's what we want to go explore right now. So back over here into code, I'm going to bring up that broker details component. The broker details component, first of all, let's start off all the way up there at the top. You'll notice it has very few attributes. In fact, it only has a single attribute called record ID. That record ID is also being populated right here within my main parent component. Within my main parent component, I have said, go into the property attribute and look up the ID of the broker. Okay? It's just the ID. So go look up the ID and pass that down into my component. All right, so it's getting passed. It's now down here, right? Which means if it's down here, I can check to make sure that it's down there. Yep, it's there. Therefore, let's do some fun stuff. Now, my friends, you'll notice, I challenge you, find a single line of HTML in this component. You won't, because there is no more HTML, because this entire component has been built using base Lightning components. So the first one that we see is a component called the Lightning Record View Form. Lightning Record View Form we introduced in the winter release. In the winter release, we said, hey, you know what? All you need to do, if you want to build a viewing form, is just pass us a record ID and the object type. We'll take care of going out and grabbing that information, those fields for you. Then you can tell me which ones that you want to actually have on the form using the Lightning Output field. Lightning Output field simply takes a field name. So, my friends, did you get that? Lightning Record View Form, pass a record ID, an output field with the field name that you want displayed, you're done. Now, I have some other things in there. You see I have Lightning Layout Item. This is our grid system. If you've ever tried to lay something out and get it all nice and even and stuff and pulled your hair out, you'll love the Lightning Layout and Lightning Layout Item grid system because it's a 12-column grid. All you do is tell the item how many columns of the grid that you would like to fill. Okay, that's it. We'll take care of the rest of the work for you. Okay, so you'll notice that beside each of my output fields here, I've got a little pencil. Right? We know that pencil. That pencil means that we're going to be able to edit. And that is exactly what this is. This is my Lightning button icon, so another base component. And this one has an on-click event where I'm going to fire a JavaScript function in my client-side controller in my component. So let's go actually see what that does. That controller, if we look over there in the controller file, it says it's going to edit record. Oh, wow, all that is doing is calling another thing in my helper. Okay, let's go see the helper. Oh, all that is doing is just toggling an SLDS hide class on and off. In other words, it's showing one thing and hiding another. Okay, let's go see it work. All right, we're going to click in here. Yep, sure enough, as I clicked, something got shown to me. Now, what got shown to me? What got shown to me back over here in the component is instead of showing me the record view form, what we really are now seeing is a brand new thing in Spring 18. It is the brother, sister, dog, cat, whatever relative of the record view form. It's called the record edit form. What do you think it does? Right, lets me edit. Except instead of using a Lightning output field, we now use a Lightning input field. Okay? Once again, same syntax. Pass me a record ID, pass me an object type, pass me the field name, and we are handling it for you. Now, let's go ahead and see if this thing works. Actually, this guy's name is not Michael Jones. I happen to know him. His name is Michael Jonesy, right? So I want to go ahead and just update that. And there we go. We have now updated that record. My friends, remember I began this little talk by saying one of my MVPs said, why would you build a component when all you got to do is mouse over it over there? I said, yeah. And if I ever want to edit it, I have to click on it and navigate to that page and edit that, and then hit the back button to go back to the record that I was on. With this, I just edited a record I'm not even looking at. Cool? Okay, I have some more news for you. There was no Apex harmed in the updating of that record. In fact, I didn't even touch Apex. I've already proved that to you because remember, we went over and we looked here in the controller. There's nothing that says save there. There's nothing that says call Apex there. So how did that form just save that record? It's magic. It's the magic of this little guy. This is my lightning button. My lightning button has a type of submit. We decided record edit form, lightning button of type submit. We'll handle the rest. Thank you very much. Is that cool? Do you like it? Really? I have 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. Do you want to see something really cool? Did you like that? I mean, that whole record edit form, record view form, was that cool for you? Could it get any better? I don't know. You want to find out? All right, here we go. Now, my friends, what I'm about to show you, you can't tell anyone that you saw. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to one of my contacts here. And over here on my contacts, you'll notice that I have another component. This component is building a form, just as you see here. So that must be a record view form, right? I mean, until you click in it, and then it would be a record edit form, right? Is that what you're thinking? If you're thinking that, you're wrong. Because, my friends, what we've done, for the summer release, coming to you very soon in the summer release, is a single line of code. This is the whole component right there. This is called record form. Record form is the combination of record view form and record edit form in a single line of code. Now, is that cool? You guys aren't acting like it's cool. All right, no. I'm not begging for the applause. I want it to happen completely spontaneously because here's what we're going to do. There's only about 6 fields here. I don't want 6 fields. I need them all. I'm going to say layout type full, save, then refresh. And here we have literally the entire record, all the forms. You notice it's in 2 columns? I don't like that. So let's actually take the entire columns away. Save, refresh. Now we have the entire record form there in a single column. I don't like it, too much. Therefore, let's go back, and I don't even want to do a layout. Instead, I'm going to pass my own field, so I just want name, email, phone, and account ID. I'll go ahead and save that. We'll refresh again. Here I now have my 4 fields. Now remember, this is the guy's name, but watch what happens when I click on it. It's a compound field, so of course we have salutation, we have his first name, his last name, and of course down here we had a account ID, which we all know is a lookup field. So of course, we'll take care of that for you as well, and I've just reassigned Jeff there over to the Acme account, and I did it all with a single line of code. Now you don't even have to remember to put in that button with the type of submit because we're going to do it all for you. This is what Manoj and I have been working towards, and that is to make it simpler for you. A single line. I have told my bosses that success for me means coming to Dreamforce next year, or coming to TDX, I guess it would be next year, talking to each one of you, asking me to show you, asking you to show me your components, and seeing really, really, really small amounts of code, like single lines of code, to do amazing things. Okay? For example, not only do we have coming in summer the Lightning record form, we also have improved the Lightning icon. Many of you have been asking to have your own custom SVGs, your own custom icons. So we're adding that support. That's coming in summer. Oh, how about Lightning data table? Wouldn't it be nice to do inline edit there? Well, duh. And that's coming in summer as well. Adding inline image support inside of your rich text editor, also coming in summer. On the roadmap for the future, oh, I don't know, anybody ever wanted to put a Google map into their Lightning component? There you go. That will be coming in the future, Lightning map. Charting, we will be leveraging Wave's charting capabilities to allow you to create charts based not just on Salesforce data, but on your own data as well. Okay? And many, many other great new things that we have headed for you in future releases. Also, please note, we've worked long and hard to give you a new badge out there. There's a new super badge. It is the Lightning Component Framework Specialist. I would encourage you to go get that badge. But to do so, you might want to brush up on your base components just a little bit, all right? So you're going to use those. And finally, anybody have any questions? We got a couple minutes that I'll take questions. Yes, sir. So in the record edit form, when you click on the icon, yes, the entire thing goes into its own edit mode, yes. Exactly. It's literally, yes. Can I create a new record? So with the Lightning form, or record form, not record edit form, record form, when you use the record form, if you do not pass a record ID, we know you want to create a new record. So we will take care of creating the record for you.
Yeah. Currently, you can also do that with using input field and record edit form.
Yeah,
you can also do that right now. But
yeah, it's a more manual for you to work. Yep. Yes. So currently the record view form, record edit form, record form, coming in summer, those three are all reliant on record IDs to do their work. Yeah. Yes. So say it one more time, the parent? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Very good question. So Lightning Data Service accessing the parent record, for example, that is actually coming. They are working on that. They're working on a lot of stuff. You should go check out the data service. Oh, hey, Kamyar. Right after this, so don't even go check it out. Stay here, because Kamyar is going to talk about. You're going to talk about all the new stuff that you're going to be doing. All right. Okay, then I'll let Kamyar answer that one. All right, yes. I'm not. You've got the components. They have events that they can fire on click or whatever. And okay. Right.
So I have a custom component where I want to have a function, like a callback function called loop, where the parent can pass in a
Okay, okay. Yes, right. So going up the chain, you have to use events. Going down the chain, you can expose the methods. So if the parent wanted to call a method in the child, of the child component, then it can do that if you expose that method for the child component. But going back up the chain, it has to be an event that triggers it.
So the base components don't
There's no way that we can navigate up the chain. That's just that's the architecture of the Lightning framework. We can't navigate up the chain without either A, firing an event, or the other thing that I've been doing a lot is instead of firing an event, if I know it's something in the parent that needs to happen, then what I do is I just have an attribute in the child. I change that bubbles up to the parent, the attributes in the parent, and then I do a handler to listen for an on change of that bubbled attribute. And that way you can trigger it. Yeah. Yes. So mass editing?
Master and child record.
Oh, master and child. Okay, master and child. So master and child records in terms of the record form, it's going to pick up whatever is on that ID. So yeah. Let's take this one offline because I want to discuss more with you about that. All right, with that, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I think you had a question.
Yes, I'll come down and answer it.